Hi, I'm Cameron, and I don't just read comics, I love them. On today's episode of Cameron Reads Comics, my dear friend Lauren and I are going to be talking about DC Comics' Selina's Big Score, written and drawn by the luminary Darwyn Cooke. This is Lauren's second comic book ever, and it goes to show that if you put the right book in someone's hand early, they will come back for more. So, this story is one of my favorite demonstrations of a creator absolutely epitomizing a character. I would argue that Darwyn Cooke's understanding of Catwoman is as masterful as Geoff Johns' nailing of Green Lantern. Yes, I believe it's that good. Lauren and I get into what we think makes a good villain and how we're glad Batman doesn't really show up in this book. As always, there are going to be full spoilers for Selina's Big Score, so consider yourself warned. And remember, follow us on Instagram at Cameron Reads Comics, as well as leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Now, here's your summary for Selina's Big Score. Our story begins in Morocco. Rumors have been circulating about Selina Kyle's death. Those rumors are false, though. She's very much alive. Selina is being chased on the rooftops of Morocco because she has stolen the cup of Hassan. Unfortunately for her pursuers, it doesn't look like a chase as much as it does a ballet. After evading the men chasing her, she finds out to her dismay that the cup she stole was a fake. Now, she's broke and she's run out of places to go. Back to Gotham it is. Selina heads back to her old fence in order to pick up a box of emergency supplies, as well as inform him that she's available for work. After a shower and a meal, Selina heads back to Swifty's, her fence, and meets a young prostitute named Chantel. Chantel is currently employed by the Falcone crime family. She found out that the Falcones launder their money by putting it on a train towards Montreal to trade it in for Asian heroin. This isn't the kind of money that people report as stolen, so if she can get details on the job, maybe they can steal the goods. Selina doubts that Chantel understands what she's saying. There's no way that Chantel knows just how dangerous this kind of mission is. And when Selina asks Chantel why she's doing this, Chantel responds that maybe if she does one more really bad thing, she can make something good happen for her and her daughter. It's not about right or wrong, it's about basic human dignity. These words resonate with Selina. They remind her of a time when she was young and she met a man named Stark. At the time, Selina was in the same line of work as Chantel, and Stark had just killed her employer. When he offers her a job, she refuses, but he says that it's not about right or wrong, it's about basic human dignity. She felt like Stark was the first real man that she had ever met. Back in the present, Selina calls Swifty and tells him that they need Stark for this heist. Swifty tells her it's a bad idea. Stark and Selina didn't really leave off on good terms, but she has Swifty reach out anyways. The next location is the apartment of the Falcones. Two of the family members are talking about how much money is going to be on the train and where they can find them. It's $24 million in cash. Stark has been residing in Miami. When Selina finds him on the beach he's residing at, it's hard not to reminisce about their time together. Stark remembers when she said that she was willing to work with him. He taught her the basics of thievery. He describes her as someone with finesse, with the longing to master doing things the hard way. As Stark is talking to Selina, he decides completely that he isn't going to go through with the job. He doesn't need it. But his disposition changes when he hears Selina say that she needs him. He says they need to be in Las Vegas in 5 days to see a guy. Selina heads back to Gotham before going to Vegas, and she sees Swifty and he tells her that there's been trouble. A private investigator named Slam Bradley has been around and he's been looking for Selina. Also, one night, Chantel wakes up in the middle of the night and emails some important heist information to Selina. But when she thought she was alone, she wasn't. Falcone catches her on his computer. In Las Vegas, Stark and Selina go out and find the guy Stark was talking about. His name is Jeff. They all regroup and give each other responsibilities. Jeff is in charge of getting on and off the train, Stark is in charge of lining up the basics, and Selina is going to plan the routes. They have 10 days to pull off the heist, and Selina decides that she's going to go back to Gotham to deal with Slam Bradley. They all get their work done. They're going to use a rocket-powered bike to get onto the train and then parachute off as the train goes over the bridge. Then Swifty is going to pick them up by boat for their getaway. The whole job is starting to come together. After Selina leaves, Geoff asks Stark about what happened between them. Stark tells Geoff that she was living two lives, one as Selina and the other as Catwoman. Eventually, Stark lost out on Selina's attention due to a certain dark night. Back at Falcone's place, Chantel visits her man, Frank. As she starts pouring him a drink, he corners her and lets her know that someone hacked his email. He beats her and lets her know that they're going to get to the bottom of it, even if it kills her. The story's narrator changes to the private investigator that has been in pursuit of Selina, Slam Bradley. He got hired by the mayor when word got out about Selina's death. Soon after, Slam put the pieces together to find out that Catwoman and Selina were one and the same. Selina knew that Slam was tailing her, but his journey really picks up when he finds out where Chantel's story left off. When Slam bursts into Falcone's apartment, he sees Chantel tied up to a chair and beaten badly. Slam takes out everyone and saves Chantel as best as he can, but she's dying. He then takes Frank Falcone up to the roof, wraps a fire hose around his ankle, and throws him over to the side of the building. That should get him to give some answers. Slam got the information he needed to head towards the heist, and he's headed there by plane. At the Canadian border, Falcone hired a man named LaPerriere to investigate the bridge, and he finds Swifty. At gunpoint, they convince him to take them on a little boat ride. Before the heist, Stark reminisces on the last time he saw Selina. She had convinced him to break one of his only rules and pull a job on the Italians. The plan was to have a member of the team waiting with a getaway car, but when Stark brings the loot to the coordinated street corner, there's no car waiting. He was alone holding the bag when suddenly a whip snatches it from his hand. And that was known as the third official sighting of the criminal known as Catwoman in Gotham. He knew it was Selina. Stark got lucky and escaped. The beginning of the heist goes off without a hitch. They take the rocket bike and are able to hop on the train with ease. Selina hops on the roof and runs to the top of the train from car to car holding the cash. They hear her and shoot at the roof. Her helmet prevents her from injury, but the force of the bullet topples her over the side of the train. But, come on, this is Catwoman we're talking about. She's able to catch herself on the side of the train and break into the car, taking out her opposition with ease. They escort the loot and hop off the train just as they plan. It's when they get to the boat that things start getting complicated. They get on the boat and celebrate a job well done. As Geoff is talking about what he's going to do with his new millionaire status, he gets shot in the head. But he's not the only one. Swifty has also been shot, revealing LaPerriere behind the trigger. Stark automatically asks Selina what's going on. This wouldn't have been the first time she burned him. Before things get worse, Slam Bradley's plane flies incredibly low and surprises everyone on the boat and pivots their attention. The plane lands at a cove and Slam gets out to wait for LaPerriere's men to return. During the plane commotion, Stark and Selina jump off the boat into the water, but as the boat tries to get away, they grab onto a rope dangling off of it and are able to catch their enemies off guard. As Stark tries to sneak up on LaPerriere, he gets shot with a shotgun, but not without executing LaPerriere. Selina watches the whole thing go down. As she races to Stark, he tells her something that he had never told anyone before. His first name. It's James. Selina wants to escape, but she knows that she can't get away without tying the loose ends up in the cove. It's there where she finds Slam Bradley. When he asks her what she's going to do, she says that she's headed up north. He tells her that so many people have died tonight. He needs to take her in. That's when Selina shoots Slam. Selina says because so many people died for the money, she's not going to just let him stop her. She owes it to Chantel. She owes it to Chantel's daughter. Selina tells Slam that she's a thief, and he needs to understand that. She also lets him know that they're never going to talk about this night ever again. In one final moment, Slam asks maybe the most pressing question of the evening. Selina, did you love him? Referring to Stark. Selina responds the only way she knows how. I don't know the meaning of the word. At dawn, in a series of wordless panels, it shows Selina cradling the dead body of Stark as she eventually lets it fall back into the ocean. Alrighty, so this is officially the third take at an introduction. Welcome, Lauren, to the Cameron Reads Comics podcast. I guess, but I've introduced you on this podcast now like 4 times. So
I'm honestly really flattered.
We're giggly, so it's gonna be a fun one. Anyways, so Lauren, you're back. We read Selina's Big Score, which is a amazing story written and drawn by Darwyn Cooke, who is just one of my all-time favorites ever. I was telling you earlier, the first time we recorded this, that this is probably within my top 20 books I've ever read, which is like, but that's based on just how much content I'm taking in all the time. That's based on every publisher, and this is just one of my favorites. So, first and foremost, how familiar are you with Catwoman?
I was thinking about that. Not that familiar. I feel like I don't know that much about the history, right? But there was that movie with Catwoman, and she has blue eyes, and she's like, right?
Well, was she
like,
a
is that a
blonde?
90s version? Yeah.
Oh, yes, and that's actually my favorite.
She's such a babe in that one.
It's like one of my favorite, probably
top 50.
No, that might be my favorite Batman movie.
Really?
I just love it's Batman Returns, and it's Michelle Pfeiffer who plays Catwoman.
Oh
I don't know what it is. I just find that whole movie mesmerizing.
I feel like I saw that maybe when I was like 8 years old, and
You're cool.
I was so cool.
You are cool. Danny DeVito is the Penguin.
Yes,
That's what's in there.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was like a super good movie, and her costume design was sick. And I thought it was like cool that, I mean, they tried to make her look ugly, and she's not ugly. So, but then, she's like, well, we'll get to that. But she's like one of the coolest Catwomen. But I also remember Catwoman and Hathaway version.
Yeah.
20.
That must have been
Who
like
even knows?
2013.
Yeah. Is that right? No, it has to be earlier than that.
No, because it was that summer of senior year of high school that we did, and then the year after that, Man of Steel came out. I
feel like it was earlier. But anyway, limited exposure. I don't really know much about her story other than the fact that, I think maybe like the old school version is she was this nerdy girl who was super into cats, and then something happens, and now she's Catwoman. That's my basic understanding. So very little.
Oh my gosh, I guess maybe I should have given you some sort of intro. It's up in the air, a lot of it. Well, I think this story kind of leans heavily for those listeners familiar on the Batman Year One origin story, where she is like pretty much born and raised on the streets. Mm-hmm. And
so different from
Batman. Yeah, entirely different. He's obviously grew up in upper crust, like wealth, and she is like literally grew up trying to make her own way for herself. And so when it talks about like her, we can go. I don't know if you remember full spoilers, all of it. But it goes in this one we're having some in-ear fuzz right now, and it is so annoying. I'm sorry for my listeners, but it literally just sounds like the microphone's like farting at us.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
Anyways,
One old school.
We have since taken off the ears because it is literally freaking out on us. But anyways, so in this story, it's emphasizing the origin where she referenced, so desperate that she needed to find a way out. That was her situation, and so she wasn't like quite like into cats. But when she sees this kind of dude walking around as a bat, she adopts, I guess, her whatever spirit animal, or like her. And a lot of it too, she's air quoting a cat burglar. So that's her origin. And so really that kind of calling card kind of thing. And so it's emphasizing her growing up in the streets.
I have a question because I feel like similar to Batman, right? there's his origin story is pretty much the same, but there are different takes on his origin story. So why, this is primarily by Darwyn Cooke, correct?
Yes.
Why does he take this spin on her background, do you think?
I think this is pretty much her standard background. It's pretty much she's like grown up in the streets. Why does he take this twist? Because number one, this story is a heist story, and so I think this character really having an edge and like really being kind of in the crime like realm. I think it was just it's very noir, it's very gritty, and like what I love too about that though is and about his referencing this origin is it shows that she's capable. Like she does have an edge to her. Totally,
and also. Because I don't know his other pieces of work. Does he normally like gritty stories, or is this just?
Yes, he does have some edge to him. I think he actually did a really, really, really great Justice League story called New Frontier, but it was. And obviously his style is very just like mid-century and like very 60s and very retro, which is just I'm a huge fan of. And so he did a 60s take on the Justice League.
Which is cool.
When they were all coming out. And so it was like, okay, what happens if it was like real grounded drama, but these superheroic figures were coming out as they looked in the 60s. And so it is amazing, amazing, amazing. If you ever wanted to read that, that is like one of my all-time definitive Justice League origins. It's like Hal Jordan, who's Green Lantern, is like a cosmonaut almost, and he is like test pilot for the United States Air Force, but he goes into space and like there's an alien invasion, and it's just so this one's very gritty, and we'll talk about that. And even in the art style, it's very unpolished and very like stylistic and tonal way. In that one, it's very bright and very futuristic, and I don't know, he's just brilliant. I just freaking love Darwyn.
That's
so
super
much.
Cool. Yeah.
I'll show you that. I might have loaned that out to someone, but if not, I'll give you that one. So, I guess going up perfect transition. Did you like the art? How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it was most definitely different from last time. And I actually, from the first page, pretty much noticed right away that it was its own type of style. And I don't know if that makes sense, but the way that Selina was drawn, it almost made it feel like it was a cartoon.
Yeah.
But with more grit and the interesting, contrasts with colors and determining the mood and setting the tone. Yeah. I just thought it was very well done.
His freaking color choices and palettes, especially at the beginning, because they changed. Mm-hmm. Like I wrote down the first couple I noticed, but like in Morocco, the entire scheme is blue.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then when they're in, is it Florida?
Yeah, Miami.
Yeah, Miami, and it's like all bright and turquoise and yellows
it's
and
like
oranges.
Pink. It's very like salmon almost, and then Gotham is brown.
Yeah,
because she hates that city, and it's like a stink hole. And I'm like, I love that.
Yeah, and I think towards the end there's some reds.
Yeah, with when it's reminiscing on her past with Stark. Yeah, it's red, and I'm like,
which I felt like that was important to set the tone and understanding of what she was experiencing, especially because, she has that troubled past with Stark, and you can tell there's like complications there, I suppose. But I don't know. I just felt like the way that he was able to convey feelings and tone through art was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially like set a mood. Like every time he changed locations, he gave it like it's a full page without words. And he just did a bunch of like it's panels like on the page obviously, but each panel was kind of like a different, I guess, aspect or just a tool to set the tone of the new place they were at. So in Miami, there's like a lizard on the wall or something.
Yeah.
And in Las Vegas, there's so many colors. Like it was just bursting off the page. And then there's a full page of the dice roll. That dice roll page is one of my favorites. I don't know why, but I was like, wow. You just really liked it. It brought you into that place, and it revealed a new character, and it was just so tasteful. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And so, I just freaking love. He's one of my all-time favorite artists, and actually, he was very young when he passed away. He was like 50, and it was like the first one that ever hit me. It was like, oh, like that hurt.
Wait, when was this created?
I think this book is from 2003.
Oh, so when did he pass away?
Like recently, like 20, I think I want to say it's like 2015.
Oh, wow. That's a bummer.
Luckily, I have the internet right here, and I can pull it up. But yeah, he's one of my all-time greats. Actually, compared to what we last read with you was Black Widow. Do you see the influence and like the stylistic comparisons?
Yeah. And I was thinking about that upon reading it the second time, how they're similar, but they're so not.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, they're both, two women who come from really interesting pasts, but the way that they deal with how they're going to go about things, very different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if maybe I'm correct on this, and maybe it's my interpretation versus your own, but I felt like Black Widow was a lot more clean cut.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. She's a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And with this, I mean, but even with the style, with the, I don't know, like the details
and the art.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Way more detailed, I would say, versus this art.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
this story.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was too. It was just like, but I don't know. I just think the grit, because if you look, I gave, for those, I don't know that no, but I gave Lauren the copy of the Batman Ego and Other Tales volume, and so that has a lot of other stories.
Yeah.
And if you look at his other stories, like even if you go to the New Frontier, that's going to be a lot more polished. Like,
right.
And this one, I was like, ooh, I almost found it unreadable at times.
Oh, and also this was the one with Ego.
Yeah, Batman Ego.
I really liked that, by the way.
Well, we can talk about it. I just didn't have a copy of it.
No, I mean, as a side note, because you said that this influences the new movie coming out.
Yeah.
Right?
We're going to talk about the new movie.
Yeah, which I thought it was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ego?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I didn't like it when I first read it.
I know, and that's what you said, and I was kind of surprised because the way that it ended, I loved it.
I got to reread it. It's just, yeah. This is my third time reading Selina, and I just think heist book, perfect, like perfection.
Well, and also, if you think about it, right, kind of Black Widow and this are both heisty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like...
So you like heist stories, huh?
With Serena and this one... You know what I loved about this one was that her heist abilities, it just shows he really does a great job, even in the first, like, Morocco, of her being smart.
Yeah.
Like, she outsmarts all of her opponents as, like, she's so strategic. Like, there's the page spread where it's, like, just a couple panels, but she jumps off the roof, gets on another one, you see the guy trying to follow her, and there's nothing. And then it zooms in on, like, a chimney, and then zooms in to see her feet are hanging out of the chimney, and she's inside of it. I'm like...
You just were mind-boggled.
Oh, my gosh. Every angle of that was just, like, brilliant. And I think it's one of those rare things where... I think Mark Waid and Chris Samnee, who did Black Widow, work together so well. And you can see, like, their collaboration happening. I was going to say, like, they're co-storytelling, but it's like it's collaborative, and they refer to each other as co-storytellers, not just writer-artist.
Oh, that's right. That's what you said.
It's cool. And so with this one, though, you can really see Darwyn's vision in its entirety just coming out, which is a very special thing that, we don't get in a lot of comics.
I was going to say, do you feel like that's a special quality?
Yeah, it's a very special ability to see very specifically the entirety of someone's vision. Because I think I'm pretty sure that he inked this as well. So it's just like he had so much in the process was all of him.
How long do you think this story took to make?
I don't know. It came out as a graphic novel on its own. So that means it was the one story with 4 chapters just done. So maybe for him, I don't know, 6 months? 4 to 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot longer than I was expecting.
Oh, dang, girl.
Well, I mean, I think I was more along the lines of, I don't know, maybe 3 months?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. And I was really young when
You
this came
don't
out.
know?
I'm like, I'm sorry. So wait, did you like the story?
I did really like it. I was telling Cam earlier that I think this one was a little bit harder for me to follow just towards the end.
That is so funny to me because I thought the other one was way harder to follow.
No, I thought that this one, as far as background, was very easy to follow. But then towards the end, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Who's dying? Like, what happened? Who's stealing what? Like,
It's so funny.
I don't know. I think I was a little bit all over the place. But I did really like it. And also, I like her. I like Selina. I think she's super cool.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like competent women in comics, I'd argue probably my number one. Is Selina Kyle. I think she's just one of the best characters ever.
I think she's again, we were talking about this, but she's kind of one of those anti-heroes woman, though, where I'm saying she's not overly sexualized as far as I feel like her wit is what makes her.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not her body. It's not, I don't even know these powers that are beyond her. It's her wit. It's her ability to strategically plan how she's going to execute. And I like that.
Yeah, which is really kind of what makes her and Batman so synonymous with one another.
Yeah, and I've never thought about it like that. But you know how they're always like, oh, Batman would lose against Superman and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that's the brilliance of the characters, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, my guy Ryan at the comic store, him and I talk, and I said, oh, well, who do you think would win? Because, I think...
Is that like an ultimate debate?
He made, and this is the point that he made that I guess I'm trying to convey, is he's like, it's whoever the fans like more, because everyone can give you a million reasons why so-and-so would win or why so-and-so would win. Because I'm like, I'm in the camp where I think logically Superman would win, and this is because of Jason Inman, who's one of the podcasters I love. He's like, he can throw the moon. If you can throw the moon, you win.
If you're talking about powers, he's got them.
Literally, and yes, I understand Batman with planning time, blah, 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 all the other things. I'm like, Batman will always, though, in all the fights you'll see, is he will use his brain to use Clark's humanity against him, which is going to be, the ultimate thing. And how you see that play out is the most fun anyways. So, frankly, it depends on who's writing them. Who do I think would win? It's up to debate for both, because whatever. It doesn't matter. I just like the story.
Yeah, but I think that's an interesting debate, right? Because I guess that's kind of what we're talking about as far as, like, if you were to pit Wonder Woman versus Selina, I mean...
Oof. I don't know, but that'd be a great fight to watch.
Yeah. Okay, if they make that a movie,
man,
we plotted that. So thanks.
I'm like, all the credit goes to her because DC Comics is listening.
Pay us, thank you.
So you liked it though, or you thought it was a little hard to follow, but did you like?
No, I really liked it.
Oh my gosh, I just freaking love the story so much. So I'm a little biased. Oh wait, you had some questions to me that we were talking about before this, but. What were some of you said continuity wise, what was happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think just towards the end, so I had to, I think I had to decipher that the parts with Stark, right? Some of them are the past, which I understood.
Yeah.
And then once it was the present and then they were actually carrying out the heist, that's when I started to get a little bit confused, but maybe that's the point. I mean, she's able to escape this heist.
Yeah, well, also a character you can guarantee isn't going to die, or at least, knock on wood, for the next 5 years, or will die and come back, is Catwoman. Like, she's not going to die. So,
yeah,
with everyone else dying, it's just kind of like the heist went wrong, and I just think they thought they planned for everything, and there's one thing that went out of their, chain of command, and it threw the whole heist off. And I think... I guess maybe my follow-up question for this will be, what was your favorite moment? Because mine has to do with the end.
I really liked the end.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I really liked the end. I really liked... Actually, you know what? I really liked the beginning.
Oh, I love...
It's so good.
The full-page splash that says, I'm very much alive.
Loved that. Come on.
That's
my favorite.
That nails the character.
That's it. And like when they go into how it connects what Chantel, that's her name, right? Yeah. When Chantel is like basic human dignity, and it loops right into the story with Stark.
Oh yeah,
come on,
masterful storytelling.
That was so beautiful.
Yeah,
that was my favorite moment.
And
basic
then you
human
catch
dignity.
It.
Yeah, like that sets up the tone for her and how she has this complicated nature with Stark, but also. She's looking for basic human dignity, too, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it makes her, because she was fundamentally a villain, and this you see this happen with a lot of villains, where it happened with Mr. Freeze, it happened with a lot of them. So, for example, for Mr. Freeze, he was a villain, standard villain, just a cold guy for a while, and then in the animated series, which actually, fun fact, Darwyn Cooke worked on, in the animated series, and that's why it almost kind of looks cartoony.
Okay.
But Darwyn Cooke, who worked on the animated series, he or not him, but Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, who were really responsible for Mr. Freeze, they made him so he was a tragic figure where his wife was cryogenically frozen, and then he pretty much something went wrong and he got a disease where he cryogenically had to freeze himself, and so everything he does is motivated to try to find a cure for his wife.
Interesting. So
And
humanizing the
villain, it makes them sympathetic characters, and I think what it did with Selina.
Do we even know her name?
Selena
I'm
Kyle.
just kidding.
I love her, but with Selina, you see that no matter where she came from, it's not about necessarily the heist. You know, it's not what she's stealing. It's about the rush for her, which is number one. I think why we love that panel too is because it's not necessarily she wanted the cup, she stole the cup, whatever. It wasn't about the cup in the first place.
Yeah.
She felt alive, and she feels alive when she's doing what she's doing,
Yeah.
and that's why Batman does what he does too. Is because not because it is because he's avenging his parents, but a lot because he feels alive. You know, it's a rush. You know, let's not act like it's not extreme. And so, you see, she becomes a sympathetic character when she's like, I did what I did, you know, to get out of the streets. And you saw that with Stark, and you see that with Chantal. So she's like, you sympathize with that character, and then you support her in all she's doing.
You know, it's interesting because I understand that she is a villain, but I didn't view her as a villain in the story.
That's great. That's how you know it's well done.
Yeah, because I actually had never thought about that until you brought that up. I was just thinking of it as her story, which is nice. I think that's why the beginning is so crucial, right? Because we're not talking about this villain and trying to, you know, I don't think it's about giving her this like scope where you're like, oh, actually we feel bad for her, right? It's like, no, this is why she does what she does.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. Why did you really like the end though?
Okay.
I'm curious.
Because another one that I think just nailed the character, like when we talk about stories that just absolutely hands down nailed it. This is one for me for Catwoman is when Stark dies and Slam Bradley's asking her, did you even love him? And then she walks. Then it's a beautiful 2-page cut too.
Yeah, and the colors, by the way, are so
gosh.
cool in that.
He says,
panel.
"Did you love him?" And she says, "I don't know the meaning of the word." And it's like, oh, guts me in the heart because I'm like, that's her. You can't.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, all of the supporting characters were reminding one another that they can't trust her.
I know.
And she showed herself to be untrustworthy the entire time. But then you see her in the boat with Stark's body, like holding it. And then she just lets it go. And I'm like, oh, that's just so masterful. 100, like chef's kiss. Perfect. And
it's funny that you say that because I was kind of surprised by that ending.
Ugh.
Not that I thought, oh, like she was supposed to say something along the lines of she was in love with him. But it's like, it's so sad and cold.
Yeah.
But a perfect ending, I think, for her.
Yeah. It's in that. Yeah. I'm just 110% agreed.
Yeah.
That was my favorite moment.
I don't know if this like applies in the comic world as well, but is it maybe like percentage wise you could say, but do they like usually end with good endings or?
Just depends on the story.
Yeah. But like, would you say if you could give like a general percent? Because I mean, I guess you could kind of argue that wasn't a good ending.
Oh, I think it was a perfect ending.
I think it's a perfect ending, but if you're thinking in terms of like a very typical plot, that was a bad ending, right?
No, because number one, she got what she wanted, and it was at the cost of, you know, she got the money, she got the heist, she got what she wanted. It was her big score. At what cost? That's always what makes the story interesting. And I think when you look at typical noir heist kind of stories, it's always like, you know, for example, very classic that I'm sure was referenced in this at some point was the Maltese Falcon, which is the original Humphrey Bogart, which is, it's not about the heist at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think it's very a classic demonstration of the genre that it was trying to convey. But because the Maltese Falcon isn't about the Maltese Falcon at all. Like Chinatown with Jack
That's
Nicholson
so deep.
isn't about Chinatown at all. I'm like, I took a history of cinema class.
I know a thing or two about good or bad endings.
Lauren showed me up last Black Widow episode, and I was like, there's so many questions I didn't know the answer to.
Well, I mean, it's a bit arbitrary, I think, to say good versus bad ending, because I think, you know, oh gosh, too deep to even say good versus bad. But
So funny.
I think it was a perfect ending for the story and a perfect ending for this type of, I don't know, I guess you could say background story for a villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I just thought, I think that's a good point. I think she won, but at what cost?
Yeah, and like I really believe at the end of the day, I don't know, it didn't address this, which I kind of wish it did. I don't know what percentage or 100% that she would give to Chantel's kids or Chantel's daughter.
No way.
Oh, dude, she literally talked about bringing on that burden and to Slam Bradley.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because that is also in Selina's character. And like the thing too, like let's just go talk about villains or air quotes villains. The best villains are the ones where you totally understand why they're doing it, and they are sympathetic characters. So like Infinity War, let's talk about Thanos. Mm-hmm. He was 80% of the movie, and frankly, if you kind of look logically at what he's doing, he's correct.
Yes. I definitely understand what you're saying, because I would say even like a good villain, right, is someone who makes you feel so conflicted.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I think Thanos, I'm like, oh my God, Thanos, he's the worst.
I'm like, he is the worst. We can all agree.
Yeah. He literally kills 50%.
Yeah, 50%.
Yeah, of humanity, which is, you know.
All right, Lauren, that's very like spaceist. Like it was.
It was everything. Sorry.
I'm like, so many.
All
like,
galaxies matter.
All the Martians are pissed at me right now. I can't believe you just said that.
I am so politically incorrect. Sorry.
But even like another one too is Magneto, that a lot of people love, because like he thinks that mutant kind are the superior beings as opposed to humanity, and so he doesn't want to just like meet in the middle with humanity. He wants to be above them, and it's like you're right, because friggin' whatever in evolution you are the next species up.
Yeah, screw humans.
Lauren's like pro Magneto.
Anyway, all I was just trying to say was yeah, when they're confusing like that requires a lot of brilliant writing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I probably just did like a lot of mansplaining, and I just want to apologize.
You're like, Lauren.
Like, actually.
But that's kind of the point of this podcast, isn't it?
Oh, this is all vanity, baby. This is all me spouting off. Like, I'm like, oh, hey, Lauren, you want to come in and let me talk at you about Catwoman for 45?
And then I'm going to record it, and then everyone's going to listen to it.
This is immortalized. I'm like notes Catwoman poster on wall.
Oh, yeah. Wait, you had the Catwoman poster. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You stole that, by the way.
Oh, fun fact that relates to this too. So, I guess I stole something in 2013, Los Al High graduates. I think we rented those too, and they just had to pay for it.
Oh my, yeah, you're right.
I messed up.
Wait, how did you steal that?
So, context, I think we had a big school assembly, and there's a Catwoman cutout of Anne Hathaway. There's a big
stool assembly?
It was a big poop assembly.
All right, sorry, I'm 5.
Every time I mess up, Lauren will catch it. That's why we had to do the intro 3 times. It's a big school assembly, and we had the a Catwoman cutout, just like a bunch of weird movies, like, you know, Star Wars, like Skywalker, Yoda, a bunch of them. And I saw Catwoman, and me and my best friend Christian pretty much grabbed it, covered it in our jackets, and walked out and put it in Christian's mom's classroom and covered it with our jackets for the rest of the day.
Right. You are right.
I grabbed it, still kept it like incognito, took it to my car, took it home, and then it stood in my bedroom for like 4 to 5 years.
A long time.
Yeah, like a long time. And so I got rid of it because eventually, I felt creepy looking at like a cutout of Anne Hathaway for that many years.
Honestly, true. And also, Anne Hathaway isn't even like, she's cool. She's not the coolest.
I think she's great. She's my
what?
You know, no. She's my favorite Catwoman.
You literally just talked about how the other Catwoman was your favorite.
Well, I love them both.
You're conflicted.
I think
you're a villain.
More comic accurate is you're so right. You called me out on my bottom. Anyways, the most comic accurate one is Anne Hathaway's, and her whole costume getup is inspired by Darwyn Cooke's Catwoman costume.
Oh, so that's why you love it.
Yeah, because it looked different her costume, frankly, was like used to be like number. Not that there's anything wrong with like skimpy outfits, but like it was very skimpy in a way where like it's a woman being drawn by a man, and you just kind of see that reflected in the art as opposed to.
Yeah.
So this was the first time he kind of made her all black, covert, made the goggles.
Yeah,
like,
she
into
looked
the
sick.
cat-eyed.
She looked sick.
Yeah, and so that was all him, and so, and it pretty much the costume didn't get changed until very recently, and Joelle Jones, who's the current artist, or she was most recently, kind of responsible for the new suit.
Okay.
She did a great job too, and she kind of, you could see the Darwyn Cooke, but you can also see the style and the purple, and it's great. But Anne Hathaway's costume is very reminiscent of the Darwyn Cooke costume, so
Which is why you love it.
which is why I love it. But also her performance in that movie, she's so convincing and very anti-hero too. You know?
Yeah, I honestly, to be real, I haven't seen that movie in a while, but I do remember thinking she was super cool.
I thought you were gonna say I haven't seen that movie, and I'm like, what?
Oh no, that would be like, I don't even know.
Really
sacrilegious.
It's the scene when she breaks into the very opening when you first meet her, and she's trying to be a waitress at the Wayne Manor, and then tries to break in, and I'm like, oh, it was just. She changes her posture at some point where she's like, Bruce catches her. She changes her posture, like, oh my gosh, it was such an accident. And then he's like, no, it wasn't. He's like, you literally like got my fingerprints, like using blah, blah, blah chemical. And she's like, changes her posture, and she's like, oh, and I was like, oh, that's compliment.
You were like, I love you.
I'm like, I'm all out of love. What is happening? Okay, so, how'd you feel about the story as from an accessibility perspective?
Totally accessible.
Great.
Oh, except towards the end. Oh, you mean like...
But I mean,
okay.
like, continuity-wise.
Totally. You mean like as far as last time, remember, I was like, who the hell is
Nick
this
Fury's
person?
on the moon.
Yeah.
And,
And there was that random god person. No, totally accessible.
Yeah, like anyone could pick this up, right?
100%.
Yeah, that is what I want out of, like, you know, comics, and to something like this to share. Mm-hmm. Also,
and I would recommend this to someone.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, new question. Actually, going off the Anne Hathaway tangent that we did, I just wanted to. I was like, what's the next question I have? Meh. How did you feel? Okay, knowing number one, Lauren and I love High Fidelity, the
Love.
Hulu series that's only one season, breaks my heart.
Love.
Amazing, amazing, amazing.
Yes.
So knowing that not Anne Hathaway, Zoe Kravitz is going to be Selina Kyle, how are you feeling about that? Do you see her in a story like this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Could you think of a more fitting person?
It's perfect.
Like, wow. Well, first, I had literally the biggest girl crush on Zoe Kravitz after that show. I mean, I really liked her before, don't get me wrong, but that show, I was like, dang, this girl is cool, number one. Number two, she's beautiful. She's smart. Even if as a, actress in general, she's an activist. She's just like the coolest person. Okay. And when you think of Catwoman, right, you think of someone who's just so cool.
Yep.
And she's going to rock it.
Oh my gosh. And well, the number one pinnacle in my head of High Fidelity is her with that leather jacket and the Cortez blazers on.
Yes.
Or Cortez is just Cortez. And I'm like, oh, you're so cool.
And you know that she's going to bring that to the character.
Yeah. And like, well, because, and we saw in the story, Catwoman is someone who's cool under pressure. Like, best example, when she like falls off the side of the train, they're like, oh, she just died. And she's like, grabs her.
And she's like, what's up?
And then they check again in the train car, and she's like, yeah, I'm here. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like,
yeah, I think, I mean, also, I'm sure there was a lot of pressure to bring an actress into that role.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it always is.
She's, she's one of the characters, she's actually been around for 80 years. So.
Wow.
Her first appearance, actually, I have a Batman #1 poster in my room. That's her first appearance. So, same first appearance as the Joker. Yeah, it's a huge, huge.
Yeah. So when you heard that it was going to be Zoe Kravitz, were you pleased?
When I heard about Zoe Kravitz, honestly, like, with this whole Batman movie, I just want to see how it plays out. I'm really excited. One of my favorite guys who I actually had on the podcast, Coy Jandro, who talks about, his opinions and theories and fan theories and news surrounding it. Mm-hmm. He said it's like a David Fincher-esque Batman movie, and I really see that. And when you look at the shots,
what does that mean?
Fincher, like same guy who did Fight Club, same guy who did Gone Girl and Seven, and
Wow.
That guy, like a girl dragon tattoo, and
Oh, so this movie's gonna be...
it's Fincher-esque. It's not that director.
Of course, right.
But you see the tone.
Yeah, like, it's gonna be a little weird.
It's dark and gritty and in your face, and I think it's gonna be smart. I think it's gonna be incredible. And Robert Pattinson, like a lot of the drama surrounding that, it's Robert Pattinson, and I'm like, yo, guys, go watch Good Time, go watch Rover, go watch Cosmopolis.
I kind of like the emo Robert Pattinson that we're seeing.
Yeah, he's emo boy. And then her as Catwoman, I just think of someone who's cool. And I think like cool to the unattainable level.
Yes.
I'm never going to be as cool as her.
No, and I've just accepted that.
I'm like, I'm fine.
You know what's funny is she wears, do you remember the shoes that she wears in High Fidelity? Those boots? Black boots.
Are they
classic?
They're not the Doc Martens?
No, they look like Doc Martens,
but they're
not. Yes. I looked for those. And of course I looked at a whole interview about them. They're like these thrifted, like $400 boots, unobtainable. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Of course they are.
Yep.
That is.
So yes, she's cool. She'll be perfect for this role.
Yeah,
totally
and it's just
agree.
like to the cool, like, you want to see how cool she is, go watch High Fidelity. And like, yep.
Oh my gosh. Totally.
And it's also, I think, frankly, High Fidelity, if you guys don't already have the plug, here's the plug, go watch it.
Totally.
But if you want to see, it's cool, but also self-destructive, which I do think is a Catwoman kind of thing. I think she's very self-destructive.
Yeah, if
character.
I think about, I wonder if Zoe likes these types of characters, but they're kind of similar.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm excited to see. I'm really excited because I think it's going to be amazing. So yes, I'm excited for her. I'm glad you're excited. Did you have a favorite character?
I liked Stark.
You like Stark. What do you think was about him? Did you like?
I like that he was hard to figure out, but at the same time he wasn't. It was so clear that him and Selina had this connection, and he had said, I'm not going to mess with the Italians, right? Over and over and over again. And he provides her this opportunity early on to, change her life. So he very much cares for her, right? And I think, their story is complicated, but it's cool. Like, he is willing to go against that one core thing. And it bit him in the ass. Yeah, to the point. But it shows that I think, too, and maybe this is a stretch, but I think going into the job, he was still willing to die for Selina. Totally. Yeah, like, I agree.
I think
he knew what he was getting himself into.
Yeah, and he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think we saw a lot of that.
But I think we saw that many times. Mm-hmm. He knew.
I think he kind of knew, and that's why he went to Mom, to go get guns, because I don't think they really had very many guns or anything, but it was
and like, I feel that sometimes, like, when you're doing something and you're like, And
that's a very Catwoman story. Like, that's why this story isn't about the good guys. And I think with
that's a very good point.
With the Black Widow story too, it's like they wanted to give her an edge, and they did give her something, but you knew that she wasn't necessarily going to kill anyone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about the story in that way, but I think that's why it was refreshing. Yeah. You have like a bunch of people who are technically not good people, but they're just trying to get by. They're trying to have basic human dignity. Yeah. But they have these moments of being human, even though they're villains, I guess you could call, or criminals, whatever.
Honor among thieves.
And I think that's why it was cool. You just see these moments of being so human. And especially with him, like, he's badass and he never gets into those situations, and then
he's like cool. And like, I like how he described teaching her the tool of the trade. Like, he's like, oh, I just used some freaking was it plastique or something to open a safe, but she wanted to learn the old fashioned way, and like shows her like trying to crack the code. And I'm like, that is so freaking cool. And their connection was just cool in general. Like it was really well done, and like he was a good character, right? He really was.
Who was your favorite character?
Selina Bradley.
Well, yeah.
What do you mean? Well, yeah. You look at me like it's predictable.
Well, okay. I didn't want to, because remember last time I was like Black Widow, and then this time it's like I didn't want to say the same thing. The same.
Oh, I like Stark. I like Selina Bradley, and I didn't ask you. Did you have a favorite art page?
No, but I think when you're talking about the very end, like that, the colors in that were just so well done. This part, oh, it's like literally right here. Oh, come on.
Oh, just the last page where she lets his body go?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Like, it's in the sunset, and it's like the purples and the blues and the, I don't even know. Like, even when I was driving over here, there was a really pretty sunset, by the way.
Yeah, so that page with the sunset was really well done. And actually the angle of that sunset, too, was really...
Yeah, what I was going to say...
not
is
ours
that...
in the sky, but in the book.
I just... I think, like, in those moments, let's say when you just see a really nice sunset and, you know, everyone's like, oh, sunset pics are so lame, which is true, right? Because when you see them on social media, you're like, okay. But in person, it's just like, it just hits different, okay?
I'm like, I have nothing against sunset pics, but okay.
Oh, dang. I'm, like, elitist. But, no, like, I just feel like it was purposeful utilizing those pictures at the very end because she understands that she doesn't know love, but, like, dang, she really cared for Stark.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
gone. So,
and
it's just a moment. That's all.
He is so good. He's so good. I freaking love it. And Stark's good. Yeah, no, but my favorite character was Slane Bradley, and mostly, okay, my favorite art page though was the first page of Slane Bradley, where you see him and it's just raining and it's just so gritty and beautiful, and like you kind of are wondering what he's doing, and you see the sea line, and then you find out what he's doing. He freaking threw a guy over the rooftop and holding him by the fire hose.
Yeah.
I think with this story, there is a clear code that Selina has within herself and her what she does, but he has everyone knows his code as you see it, you know, and like his is very clear, and his whole arc of trying to find her. And I loved the scene it showed where he was like trying to stake her out, and he wakes up from sleeping because they honk at him or whatever, and he looks and tries to follow them. They slash his tires. I loved all of that, and like kind of him being, I don't want to say like a chump, but he kind of felt the ramifications of that. And so it was really, really, really good. And I thought his narrations were very interesting, and seeing him piece together the mystery of what's going on and what happened to Chantel, you know, you saw it through his eyes, and he, you know, there's only one more living person in the room, you know.
I know that part when, at the very end, when she talks about how many lives were lost because of her.
Yeah, and it's
real. I mean,
and that means it's also good to see too, because it shows that she's also affected by you know what she's doing. It doesn't take it lightly, because as we see in every action movie ever, you know, people don't care, but that weighs on her, which makes her, you know, again,
it would be a totally empty story if, well, I mean, maybe it wouldn't be empty because Joker doesn't really feel sympathy or empathy.
That's a whole different
totally. But I guess what I was just gonna say is, to me, it would have fallen flat if she didn't care, right? The whole point is she's just trying to get her money and dip, but that's not the point. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, it was so good. Okay, so I guess, Lauren, my last question for you. What would you rate the story out of 10?
I would give it an 8.5.
Oh my gosh, wow. Why? For what reasons did it lack, or what reasons did it?
Yeah. I think actually, honestly, my rating has changed through discussing it. I will be real, because
it was lower?
It was lower. Yeah. But I think the point that you talked about as far as me, I think because I just thought of it as a story, right? I didn't go into it of like, this is the background of a villain. And to have that depth towards multiple people who are classified as villains is really cool. I think that's such a cool concept. And it was tied in well, and there was good connections, good art. I mean, Selina's super cool. You have, again, I think for me, it's about telling a story, and it was a good story.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day too, with this one, you like,
wait, what's your rating?
I'm just gonna, my rating is honestly like a 9.5.
Wow.
This is one of my favorite stories
it's
ever.
Your top 20, so
yeah,
I'm not surprised.
Honestly, maybe a 10. I'll say it's a 10, because
a 10.
I literally just think this story is, number one, a perfect, like, I guess, expose of a character. I think it's actually just like if you want to understand who Selina Kyle is, go look no further
But
than
is
this.
that something that you really value out of a story?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what took away from Black Widow for me too, because I'm like, there's moments that got bogged down by continuity and by literal you didn't understand what's going on, and I also really liked that this story didn't feature Batman really at all.
Yeah, that was so crucial. I think I would have liked it a whole lot less if he was in it.
Yeah, because I'm like, this character works on her own.
Totally.
She is a great character, and you see that. So that is definitely something I want to emphasize about it. I also think that, number one, the visual storytelling is unparalleled. And
I agree.
He's not my favorite artist, but he's in my top 3 for sure. So, look no further than Darwyn Cooke, because he's also. We'll talk to. I think I might just have you back for DC New Frontier because I freaking love.
I'm excited to read that.
That is an amazing story, but yeah. So with that, with New Frontier, and with this story in general, just as this one as it is, I think it's a perfect sympathetic view on a character, and the parts of legacy that it fulfills is just so satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to be like, oh, what makes it an 8.5 and not a 10? So I'm not really sure the answer to that question. I just think it wasn't like my favorite story I've ever read, but it was really good.
Yeah. And I was talking with someone too recently, and we were just talking about what makes something, it's not what makes something a 10, because I've rated this probably the third 10 I've given or fourth 10 I've given.
Do you think that makes you generous, or do you think that makes you
selective? I'm a very generous. I was just thinking about it recently because Hannah gives me so much grief about it that I give
out too many 10s.
My scale is so skewed because when I love something, I just adore it. You know?
But I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't think so either. I really like it. So, and I'm glad
I like it. So
I'm like, hey guys, it's cool to like stuff. Newsflash. But I just found that with this story too, it just nails it. And I'm like, when I read Catwoman or when I see him and I think of my portrayal, this is the one I think of. It just in all the beats, and it just satisfies all those parts of the character that I love.
Not that this is a competition, but I'm pretty sure I give Black Widow an 8.
Yeah.
I like the story more.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, no, it's not. And I like this for what it is. In the same way, I give Squirrel Girl a 10, which is a comedy book.
I still need to read that, by the way.
Oh, great! Yeah, I haven't. I'll loan it to you. But it's a silly book. But then when you read it, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so. For what that story is and what the message, the story, the theme it conveys, that's a 10 to me. You know what I mean? It does it perfectly. So this, in that way, fulfills that need. So
okay. I mean, I think. I got crap for this last time, but yeah, I don't really ever give out 10s.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I'm not in the comic world, so I don't really know what a 10 is. But
you are in the comic world.
I feel like an 8.5 is pretty good.
That's great. That's great.
In your weird high school way, that's a B. And that is not that bad.
Everyone, was it? I asked my girlfriend the other day, I was like, what would you rate this burger or something? And she's like, oh, it's like a 6. And I'm like, what? That's a D.
You're so weird. You're like the only one who still thinks that way. Maybe you're not.
I probably am. But man, I did. Well, shoot, you just graduated. You're a doctor. Lauren's the smartest person on the podcast.
That is not true. But anyway, 85%, pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Good. Well, I'm glad you like it. We'll have you back very soon. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. We love having you. Everyone, stay tuned for next week. We are going to have Hannah on from Hannah, who's on episode 7 of My Heroes Were Always Junkies. She's coming back for 2 weeks to do season review, season 1, season 2 of The Boys on Prime Video. So you may want to catch up on that. And then follow us on Instagram and maybe give us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes.
5-star rating.
Oh my gosh.
That was pretty good.
If you give us 5 stars, Lauren Barrow will sing to you. That is a guarantee.
Guarantee.
All right. See you guys later.